Alright, hello everybody and welcome back to the House of Wrestling. Yes, I have renamed the show, changed all the YouTube titles, and I'm very excited. So, we're going to go segment to segment. We're going to do the same stuff we always have. We're going to talk about wrestling, we're going to have a good time. First up, our pre-show match. We had Apollo Crews versus Andrade. Not a lot going on here. We know these guys are always very athletic. And I've been a big fan of Apollo's work the last couple months. I think promo-wise, he's doing a lot more than he has before. They're giving him at least a little bit of time to get out there with established talent. I like them programming him adjacent to Kevin Owens. I'm a very big Kevin Owens fan. For anybody that knows me, I've been a huge fan of his since all the way back in the first NXT Brooklyn. I was there for the main event, that ladder match against Finn Balor. And just having him as an accessory talent is very powerful, and I think that he provides a lot of good energy towards any feud in particular. Apollo Crews picks up the win here. He retains his title. I'm excited to see where else they go with Apollo's character. We don't really see them use him for anything particularly creative. His feuds have been pretty straight up and down. The wrestling heavy. He is a mid-card guy, and I can't see him working with too many main event guys here in this United States Championship reign, but let's hope and see, right? Andrade, great match by him as well. I have always been a big fan of his pairing with Zelina Vega, and I'm hoping that we see more and better stuff out of Angel Garza sometime soon. Overall, not much going on here, and it was a good match. Next up, we move into the main show. We start off with the Women's Tag Team Championship Triple Threat. It is our champions, Bayley and Sasha Banks, versus the Iconics, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, versus Bliss Cross, Alexa Bliss, and Nikki Cross. I liked the promo at the beginning where we cut to backstage and we get a very quick promo from Bayley. She's talking to Kayla, asking if Bayley and Sasha would still be friends if they lost the belt here. Sasha and Bayley are so insistent that they won't lose the belts. They have this whole boss and role model moniker going on. Bayley wants to stay back and try and admonish Kayla for trying to drive a wedge between her and Sasha Banks. Bayley calling her Charlie Caruso for asking her stupid questions. What a burn. What a great line right there. As the bell rings, we start off with Bayley, Billie Kay, and Nikki Cross. Cool stairway to have an arm drag by Sasha. They trade pins for a bit. A lot of brawls. The match is just kind of happening. Alexa, she runs wild for like a minute. We see Nikki get some offense. We see Peyton get some offense. There's a pile-up after a tie-up on the rope facing the ramp. All six lay out on the outside. This is closer to the end of the match. And we get a "This is awesome" chant. And this has to be one of the worst "This is awesome" chants I've ever heard. I said this last episode. The crowd being involved in these matches is so underwhelming. It's so misguided. What I would love to see are some authentic reactions from these crowds. They're wrestlers, right? They're performance center trainees. These people are supposed to like wrestling from the get-go. If you're in the wrestling business, it's because you like wrestling. So you should know how to react, how to feed energy into a wrestler, into a match, how to react as an audience and what that's supposed to sound like. I understand that they're being directed or guided or cued up to some extent, but this slow, perfectly timed, magically appearing "This is awesome" chant was so hammy. It's one of the worst things I've ever heard in my goddamn life, and it absolutely sucked the energy out of a match that, for the most part, was perfectly fine. Moving to the finish, Alexa goes for Twisted Bliss and hits it. She goes for the cover, but Sasha Banks swoops in and rolls Alexa up. Not even Peyton, who got the move, hit on her. And Sasha Banks and Bayley get the win, and they retain. You see a shot of Alexa devastated. The way she makes facial expressions is one of the best parts of her character. You see, she looks like her dog died. She looks like she just found out that her house burnt down. Thought it was an excellent reaction. We see Nikki Cross trying to console her. Billy and Peyton are crying into each other's arms. Very consistent with their very crybaby character. Sasha and Bayley standing tall on the ramp. Like I said before, this match didn't have a lot going on. And while I'm very invested in all six women here, I like Bayley, I like Sasha, I love Alexa Bliss. I think Nikki Cross is super underrated. And the Iconics are so funny. But wrestling-wise, this just didn't have a lot going on. And in terms of angles, this is just keeping up the same Bayley-Sasha Banks storyline that we've been focused on in the women's division for a very long time here. Will they, won't they, turn on each other? Who's going to do the turning, right? So while we see that that's the main focus here, we didn't get a lot match-wise here from this triple threat. This had a lot of potential for a lot of good spots, and this just did not have any of the energy that we need out of a starter match. This is your opener. This is your curtain jerker. And this just didn't live up to that. We then see Braun Strowman parking his car. It's a promo for his match later on tonight, the handicap match between the Miz and Morrison, trying to take down Braun Strowman, the Strowman Express, as we will find out he is now being called. I didn't like this. It took me right out of the pay-per-view and it felt like I was watching Raw. I don't get why they need to promo matches for later in the show in such a jarring way. You could just cut the commentary. It just didn't feel like it matched the energy of the rest of the show. Next up, Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus. This storyline is so bad. I have not been a fan of this storyline from the get-go. It feels so contrived, so weak, so deeply insensitive to the real-life story of Jeff Hardy and how sensitive some people are to the issue of drunk driving in general. I've never had that experience, but just in general, I've heard drunk driving stories. I've had friends that have lost friends in drunk driving accidents. That stuff's not a joke. I don't think it's particularly tactful of them to be trying to run angles like that, especially about characters that are so deeply sympathetic in the minds of the viewership, especially the older viewership that saw Jeff in his feuds against CM Punk, to try and capitalize on this very sensitive issue. And you know Jeff doesn't have the presence of mind to tell Vince this is wrong. You know, God bless his heart for not bothering to tell Vince maybe this isn't it. And I think it reflected in how stale this match felt. We see the promo package for this, and it's so dumb and overdramatic. We get that clip of Jeff Hardy throwing a jar cup of piss into Sheamus's face. So stupid. I hate it. I hate it so much. The match starts out slow. They're locking up. Sheamus puts Jeff in a quarter. Sheamus is yelling at Jeff. You piss on me, huh? You show me up, huh? Stupid. Jeff works Sheamus's left foot for the majority of this match, and I do like the explanation we get from Michael Cole. Sheamus uses his left foot as his plant foot, and his right foot to kick for the bro kick. Nice tilt-a-whirl face plant by Sheamus. But for the most part, this match is just going and going. Jeff is working slower than he usually does. It's kind of disappointing, actually, considering we saw Sheamus come back in pretty good shape at the Rumble. But Jeff's just not keeping up this energy. We get a few more rest spots by Sheamus. He's taking up a lot of the offense and leaving the selling to Jeff, who at the very least is selling every single kick like death. Sheamus goes up top, lands on his feet to show the left leg is damaged. He's not selling it too hard, but when he does come down, you see him stop and stammer, wobble a bit. Sheamus tries to get going. Hardy throws in a sling blade. Jeff takes a tumble from the top. Another near fall. Texas Cloverleaf lock by Sheamus. Rope break. This crowd, again, so annoying. All show. So fickle. The crowd goes from booing Sheamus to cheering his bangs of the barrel, or whatever he calls the over-the-rope chest slaps or punches. That doesn't ingratiate me with any of the characters that you have on the other side of that guardrail. It's damage being done. Makes me take them less seriously. Not the show. Makes me take them less seriously. And those are supposed to be the future superstars and title holders of your roster. Jeff hits the twist of fate, gets a senton, we get a near fall. I thought this was going to be the finish. Jeff Hardy then tries to run the barricade to roll into Sheamus, but he hits him with a bro kick. Sheamus throws him back inside. A couple more moves, and Sheamus picks up the win here. Very interesting to see them decide to put Sheamus over here, considering that he faked a drunk driving accident and tried to embarrass Jeff Hardy about his history of alcoholism and overdoses on national television. I do understand that some people would try to read into it too much. The whole wrestling logic of, well, whoever goes over in the match, they get the moral victory. I just hope that this isn't a case of 50-50 booking where in 2 or 3 weeks on Raw, or SmackDown, I should say, we see Sheamus taking a pin to Jeff clean in a regular TV co-main event. This has to lead to something. This has to lead to a big run by Sheamus. Maybe this is leading into a program with AJ Styles where we see a face Styles versus a heel Sheamus, but that's not as likely because we do see later on in the show AJ is still working the heel angle. Maybe this leads to another feud against somebody who's relevant on SmackDown. Maybe this is part of a bigger build towards SummerSlam. I'm not sure. But for me, this doesn't do much. You know, Sheamus is an established character. We're still getting used to getting Jeff Hardy back on TV. He only came back post-COVID. So right now, Jeff needs the win. I don't know. I'm not going to do the whole thing every week, whereas if this guy gets buried or if this guy loses a match, he's buried and going to AEW. I don't like doing that. But this isn't a good sign for Jeff. He needed this win. He needed the moral victory. But instead, the guy who fakes a drunk driving accident gets the pin. Then we see Kayla backstage informing Miz and Morrison that the Strowman title match will not be for their co-holding of the WWE Universal Championship, but only the one that gets the pinfall will become champion afterward. They say, oh, it's going to be fine. You know, it's still Johnny Drip Drippin'. M-I-Z, the M-I-Z. And then Otis comes out. He reminds us that he's Money in the Bank. Next up, we have Asuka and Nia Jax for the Raw Women's Championship. This match didn't do a lot for me, and I love Asuka. But I'm just so sick of seeing Nia in the ring, largely uninteresting when it comes to her wrestling. Her mic work's not bad. I do think that she cuts a decent heel promo, but there wasn't a lot going on in this match, and it felt like Asuka was really doing her best to inject fuel on fire. The build was good. Especially because we did get a lot of extra real-life build and heel heat for Nia because of the recent injuries to Kairi Sane in their matches on Raw. But for the most part, just felt Asuka was doing so much. Asuka throws in some punches in the beginning. Nia just tries to throw her. Asuka gets an octopus lock in on her, and she's got this thing locked in. She is stretching Nia out. You could see Asuka's head touching her heels here. It was crazy. But Nia just gets out of it. Nia tosses Asuka into the ropes, gets a clothesline. Asuka goes on top for a splash, but Nia catches her. Asuka reverses Nia's strikes into an armbar to drag Nia out of the ring. Asuka follows her. They're beating each other up, and we get a double countout finish. This is about the best you can give people if you want to keep this feud going. You don't want to give Asuka the clean win here because then you're just dragging it out. And you don't want to give Nia the win here because, by God, I don't think anybody wants to see Nia Jax as Raw Women's Champion right now. After they announce the finish, Asuka looks straight at Nia. She does another flying hip tackle, asks for her title. She's cheering and screaming, and then she leaves. I thought it was a good segment. It was nice as like a Raw filler match. But if we're talking about this as a pay-per-view match, this was dud. This was rough. A no finish, just nothing match here. Double countout? You might as well have just had it go into a brawl in the back. This is WCW levels of nothing going on here. I wasn't a big fan of this, and it only confirms to me that this feud with Nia is likely still going to keep going into the next pay-per-view, which should be Extreme Rules. I don't want to see more of this. Overall, disappointing. We get a backstage segment with MVP and Lana. Who cares? Seriously? This is the least interesting part of the Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre feud. Nobody wants to hear Lana complain about MVP. Nobody wants to hear MVP call people clowns. This does not need to be part of the Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre feud. At the very least, if you're going to have MVP represent Bobby, just take Lana out of it. Nobody needs the continuity. Have Lana manage a woman. Have Lana manage someone else. Why not have Lana versus Zelina Vega promos? Figure that out. Don't do this. No one wants to hear MVP and Lana whine at each other for 5 minutes straight. We then move on to the WWE Universal Championship match. Braun Strowman versus the team of Miz and Morrison. Miz and Morrison play a music video before their match. We find out that Strowman wets the bed We find out that Strowman wet the bed until he was 6, reportedly, and a bunch of other funny lines. I thought this was really cute, actually. We then see Strowman interrupt their little video to break out the Strowman Express. I don't understand how this handicap match was formatted, because I understand the purpose of a handicap match. It obviously means one person has more people than the other. But I don't understand why they couldn't have done Miz and Morrison both fighting Braun at the same time. Is that a tornado handicap match? I don't get it. Because to me, whenever they do a handicap match for the title, it's always been done like Booker T and Shane McMahon versus The Rock for the WCW Championship, where they're both fighting him at the same time. So we see Miz come in, and then Morrison's just standing on the rope, and then Miz tags Morrison in at the very beginning of the match to show us that that's how they're going to do it. It didn't make any sense to me. Really distracted me the entire match. We do see Miz and Morrison working together for the majority of this thing. Miz runs around the outside of the ring. Morrison runs a distraction. We see Miz outrun Strowman. We're doing the whole David versus Goliath thing. I do love Corey Graves' insistence on commentary to be stands of Miz and Morrison, screaming very loudly at some point, "Johnny Drip Drip, Cole!" Obviously. How could you not know who Johnny Drip Drip is? There's a good pace in this whole match, but I just didn't think anything really stood out. It felt like a Raw match yet again. Something that would definitely be on a Raw main event, but this is a title match on a pay-per-view. You're supposed to be holding this to a standard here. Morrison tags Miz in. They hit a double DDT, kick out. Strowman beals Miz like hell. Morrison moves out of the quarter, so Strowman runs to the turnbuckle. They're trying to get a comeback going here. This leads up to the big spot to finish the match. They hit a combination skull-crushing finale and a stomp from Morrison from the top rope. Morrison goes for the cover, but Miz pulls him off. Betrayal! Heresy! Miz tries to help Morrison get back into pinning position, but Strowman kicks out. Strowman just starts beating the ever-living crap out of these guys. Running power slam onto Miz. Strowman is still champion. What has happened here today? At the end of this match, we still hear Corey Graves trying to sing along to the music video, but it does appear the damage has been done here. Miz and Morrison are now in the Trouble in Paradise portion of their unholy alliance against Strowman, and this is a very interesting development. It does make me want to watch SmackDown this week. I've been skipping it the last few weeks, just purely based on a lack of interest. But this is interesting. How are they going to address this on SmackDown? Does this mean that we might be seeing a breakup imminent? Maybe a Miz versus Morrison feud? That would be very exciting for SummerSlam. There's a lot of things that could happen here. Maybe a couple of teases before they actually do the break-off. And what does this mean for their engagement with the WWE title? Or the Universal title, I should say. Does this mean that we're going to see Otis become more of a centerpiece for that? Or does that mean that they're going to have a couple more halfway matches against Strowman and another person on SmackDown? We know the booking for WWE can be so volatile and not very well supportive of continuity. So how they handle this on SmackDown is really going to affect how this feud ages. But I just hope that there's a good finish to this. We then see a replay of the Intercontinental Championship final from Friday, where AJ Styles beats Daniel Bryan for the vacant championship. We then get an interview backstage between Kayla Braxton and AJ Styles. Again, I know you can do backstage segments like this at a pay-per-view, but there's just a couple too many segments on here that go a couple seconds too long, where I feel very aware of the idea that you're just filling time. This is not TV. This is your pay-per-view. If you don't have something to air right now, just go to the next match. Do not keep me waiting with stuff that should be on Raw and SmackDown. Anyway, we see backstage interview with Kayla Braxton and AJ Styles. AJ calls himself the greatest champion in the history of the WWE, so why not have the greatest championship presentation? He tells us he wants to make sure that Daniel Bryan is there, because while he's one of the greatest to lace up a pair of boots in WWE, he simply isn't phenomenal. Quick promo by AJ Styles, but still, can we not do this during the pay-per-view? Can we just do this on Monday or Friday? Really? I didn't need this now. I know you have to push your TV. It feels very Impact-ish. Now we move on to our WWE Championship match between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. For the most part, I thought this was a really good match. Very hard-hitting. I liked a lot of these spots here. Drew is such a talented wrestler. I don't like, I said it before, I really hate how much of this feud is about MVP and Lana. And it feels like they were just trying to build up more around the television aspect of it than leading up to a payoff at a pay-per-view. This match was heavy-hitting, I'll say that. Huge Northern Lights suplex by Drew. We get a nice bridge with that, too. When Drew takes to the outside, drives Bobby into the barricade. Bobby puts Drew into a fireman's carry and almost breaks his neck. He then retries the spot to ram him into the post because God knows he needs to get his spots in. This was a scary moment. You see Bobby put Drew on his shoulders and he slides off of Bobby's left shoulder. And thank God Drew got his hands under him or else he would have landed straight on his skull. Scary moment. The crowd was really into this match. I have to say, as much as I didn't like the crowd on this show, they showed up on this match. They did a good job here. Drew hits a spine buster, then Lashley hits a spine buster. Kick out at 1. Drew's been kicking out at 1 a lot. Flatliner, another kick out at 1. Drew's looking really strong here. Lashley wants the full Nelson, but we see Drew really fighting it off here. And before the match started, Drew got hit with the full Nelson for a bit. He was locked into that thing for quite a while. So we're seeing Drew come all the way back, and he knows how to fight out of this thing now. Lashley tries to take Drew's back, but Drew reverses it into an electric chair, and then a reverse Alabama slam. Really cool spot here. Lashley reverses a top rope elbow drop into a crossface. Drew stands out of it, goes into a tombstone stance. Bobby reverses that into a crossface. Lashley goes for a spear. Drew tries for the Kimura lock. Drew gets a superplex. Then Lana, because God forbid this match just ends normal. Drew gets the pin after another Claymore. This was a good match except for the finish. He blows a kiss to the camera. He says he's going to be champion for a long time. He loves us. He misses us. So cute. Very, very nice work by Drew. Just, you have to ruin matches like this with the overbooking and the crap, right? We can't just have a normal wrestling match. It's not possible. I understand the need, the desire to incorporate more stuff into this feud, but I don't want to see Lana and MVP. I don't need that being part of the finish to the pay-per-view. Let Bobby and Drew wrestle the damn match. You have two of the biggest, most athletic, most muscular, vascular-looking dudes on the roster hitting each other, and this is what you do. A waste. Then we get our co-main event, the Raw Tag Team Championship match between the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits. We see the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders in the parking lot just messing around, just having the time of their fucking lives. Eric ends up breaking Braun's car windshield, which tells us why they even showed us the car in the first place. And this kicks off a series of very wacky events. They brawl. Montez breaks out some golf clubs. The Viking Raiders break out an axe, some shields, and a bowling ball. Montez says this is too much. What the hell's going on? What did the Five Fingers say to the face? And of course that means Montez and Angelo have to get the jump on him. This gives Ivor a bunch of flashbacks about his bowling days. And then he bowls a bowling ball straight into Ford's nuts. Angelo tackles Ivar through a glass door. And Ivar just starts thinking about chicken legs. There were some funny lines here, and I thought for the most part it was actually leading up to be quite cool. And then this match just takes the dumbest, stupidest turn. They're moving towards a production truck, and we see a gang of motorcyclists surround them. Akira Tozawa, cruiserweight on NXT, jobber on Raw, is also the leader of a gang of motorcyclist ninjas. That's right, Akira Tozawa, former Cruiserweight Championship contender, is the captain of a biker ninja gang. They fight them for a while, it gets stupid for longer. Akira brings out a super tall dude with a sword. I suspect this really tall ninja is Jordan Omogbehin. He made his NXT debut on July 18th, 2019 at a live event. He's 7'3". He actually debuted with Malcolm Bivens, who we are currently seeing on NXT with Indus Rahar, or however they're called. I liked that he was on the show, but what the hell is any of this? We then see the four of them run up a production truck. They almost leave behind Ivar because they're getting tired. Then they start fighting again. They all fall into a big dumpster. Ivar starts thinking about all the ladies that called him cute and said, Eric, not so much. Then our lady referee in WWE, Jessica Carr, comes out. She calls Ivar cute and tells Eric, not so much. Then there's a tentacle monster in the dumpster. And then the match ends. I liked it. I don't know. This was really dumb. And if I had to give it an objective rating, I would give it like a -1 star if I had to go by the Meltzer rules. If I had to rate it out of 10, I would definitely rate this like a 2. But I like it. I like it. I like it because it's stupid. It feels very memey and random. Feels like some Tumblr user who doesn't get any sleep wrote this match, but I liked it. It felt kind of charming. What I didn't like was the next thing we find out. So we get a recap. We go straight from this, and then we get a recap of the United States Championship match from the pre-show. So we're just not getting a fucking Raw Tag Team title match. That's just what's happening. We got the tentacle monster trying to kill all four of them at the end of the match while they were trapped in a dumpster. And no title match. Whatever, right? Because, who cares? Let's just move on to the main event. The greatest wrestling match ever. A 40-year-old Randy Orton versus a 46-year-old Adam Edge Copeland. I would be lying if I said I didn't like this match. It was actually a lot of fun. I thought that the wrestling itself was very high caliber. And the angle they're going for here is good. Orton's the heel. He couldn't hang with Edge in a straight wrestling match. You saw that he was firmly meeting his match. Had to throw in a little heel heat there, get the low blow, hit a punt. You don't see Randy hit those very often. We don't see him break that out. He went for a punt twice and hit the second one and get the pin at the end here. I thought the setup for this match was quite good. We saw them try new things, and I thought for the most part it really worked. We got some interesting camera angles. I liked that lockup position we got under them. I liked that after one of the superplexes, we got to see Edge really close up, because Edge is such a good actor. He is very good in terms of what we usually see in WWE. We also see the Howard Finkel tribute in the middle of the ring, introducing both of these guys. Charles Robinson in the classic WWF ref gear, going over the rules. I thought that some of the commentary here was kind of stupid, because it's putting over this idea that this match has rules, but other matches don't. We hear Tom Phillips talk about the count out, and he's saying, they're going to be counting out in this match. There was a double count out in this same fucking show. What do you mean there's going to be a count out in this match? What does that mean? There's rope break in every match that's not no DQ or a triple threat or something like that. There's a count out in all those things too. Tap out submission, knockout, all those are still things. I don't see why we had to be so heavily reminded of the rules here. I know that you don't think that the audience is particularly intelligent, but this is a lot, guys. Too much. I was actually a big fan of the piped-in crowd noise. It simulated something very WrestleMania about this match, something that was missing from the match in April. Edge looked great here. So many good spots. It's hard to go through all of them. Couple of Orton DDT attempts. We got an Edgecutioner. We got an Edge-O-Matic. We got Orton hitting the angle slam. Both Edge and Orton going in for these cross faces. Edge's baseball slide elbow. We get Orton with these roll-up. Orton goes for the RKO. Edge with the Edge-O-Matic. I can't get over that Edge-O-Matic. Orton hits a pedigree near fall. Edge hits a rock bottom near fall. Edge tries for a sharpshooter, gets kicked off. They battle for a backslide. Edge gets hit with an RKO out of nowhere, but he kicks out. Samoa Joe is going crazy for this match. He is hyping up the energy of this performance in a crowd so perfectly. This is a match that true wrestling fans have got to love. We're seeing finishers getting stolen. We're seeing callback finishers. We're seeing near fall after near fall. Main event selling. We're seeing the blood, the sweat, the tears, everything. That dive by Edge onto Orton from the outside, and then we see Orton busted open, bleeding, drenched in blood. You gotta love stuff like that. I will say, as much stuff as I love from the crowd, the piped in holy shit chants, don't do that. That's stupid. I can hear the difference between the audio from your speakers and your actual human beings cheering, so don't do that. Fast forward to the finish. Randy hits the low blow on Edge. He hits him with a punt, and then he pins him. Orton wins the match, but he had to cheat like the dirty heel he is. He whispers in Edge's ear, "Go home. There's nothing left for you here." And he walks off. Best wrestling match ever? No. No, I can't say that. Best wrestling match of the night? Yeah. Contender for best match of the year? It's going to be up there. This was a great match. Top to bottom, we saw Edge and Orton wrestle one of the best matches of their careers. This will definitely be something people talk about for a while, and I do respect the idea that WWE just said, fuck it, and we're just going to call this thing the greatest wrestling match ever. So congratulations to them on Google, because whenever you look up the greatest wrestling match ever, you're going to see Backlash 2020. Randy Orton won the greatest wrestling match ever. So final thoughts. I didn't particularly like this pay-per-view. I thought a lot of segments here were quite weak, and I thought that the build towards TV this coming week, for the most part, was weak as well. We had a couple of segments here that did not need to be on the show. I didn't need to see that car getting parked. I didn't need that cinematic match between Viking Raiders and Street Profits being that long. And I didn't need to see more and more and more out of MVP and Lana when that title match between Drew and Bobby could have been a straight-up hoss match. There was some stuff that I liked on this show, but there was way more stuff that I didn't like. My final rating is going to have to be a 4 out of 10. The main event really saved it. It really did. But if I'm looking at everything else, kind of shite. Kind of not great. Not a fan. Alright, that's it for today's episode. Thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully you enjoy seeing less of my face and more of some of the stills and imagery from the pay-per-view that I was able to compile for y'all. I know audio only is always easier for people, so throw some on the background, read some news articles, cook yourself a meal, take a nice walk, work out, play some 2K. Just listen along. Let's just talk about some wrestling every week, right guys? Alright. Thank you so much for watching or listening, however you consume it. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me how I look in this backwards baseball cap. I love you guys. See you around.